Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be watching from. It's afternoon where I am here. This is Tania, your nutritionist and fitness coach with Fit Nutrition, going live with our podcast, weekly podcast here in the 8 Weeks group. How you doing, Fit family? Would you drop a little comment below? Let me know where you're watching from, and if you happen to be joining us live or on the replay. Love it. Love seeing everybody join in every week. And if you have questions, please drop them below. And I'm also going to throw it out there. If you have something that you have questions on something and you'd like to see a topic addressed, please message it down below. And if it's not something you're comfortable putting it out there, please private message me. I'm happy to do that because this is our group as a family, as a team, and I want to support everyone here. And if we have questions and want to learn different things, I am happy to dive into that with you. So today, something has been coming up with lots of clients that I've been talking with, people out there, and it's just about probiotics. Now, it just seems to be that it's a one size fits all approach, and this has been a thing. I can say that. I know that because several years ago, even my son was having some digestive issues, and he was seeing a GI specialist, and they were, just recommending a probiotic, but they weren't going into depth about why a specific kind. It's just get a good quality one. He didn't even recommend a certain kind, maybe recommended one, I think. And then my son asked me, what did I think about that one? And from what I had heard, and now I was very uneducated in probiotics then as well too. I knew that they were good, didn't realize the depth to which we need to sort of extrapolate on that. And I, at the time, I had thought those ones were good. I'd heard good things. So that being said, we have to come back to our bodies are all different, and all probiotics are not the same. Different strains are for different things. So there's like 400 trillion bacteria and things in our body. And we want to use probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, all of those good things to fuel and feed the good bacteria only and suppress the bad. And then we optimize our gut health, right? We create a really nice environment in our gut microbiome. And depending on what your eating patterns have been, what your history of dieting, not dieting, food intake, nutrient wise has been over the years, then your gut microbiome is going to reflect that. So if you have a really healthy, robust microbiome and you have very little gut issues, and you have really strong immune system, and you really don't have a lot of issues, if you look back at your history, it probably has been where you have eaten a lot of different fruits and vegetables, like you've kind of mixed it up a little bit. You've made sure that you're getting those. You're probably taking some vitamins or something to fill in your nutritional gaps. You're probably eating more whole foods than you would processed or packaged foods. You're probably not eating a lot of sugar, all of those things, because all of those things, sugars, alcohols, things that are inflammatory like gluten and dairy to some degree, and soy, and all those kinds of things that create inflammation in our bodies, are feeding the bad bacteria. Packaged, processed stuff, all of that feeds the bad bacteria. So bacteria is good for us when we have the good ones taking over, but when we have the bad ones taking over, it's created that imbalance and things are dysfunctional. So it's a dysbiosis is what that's called. And that just means that our gut isn't functioning well. There's a little bit of a dysfunction going on. And anytime we have a dysfunction going on in our gut, it will show up in other places. And so a lot of that has to do with, a lot of our gut health has to do with our mental health. And this wasn't really the norm, the normal thought years ago. It was, we have depression, we have anxiety, we have brain fog, we have lack of focus and concentration, we have ADHD, all of those kinds of things. And those were treated individually as an individual, each one separately as an individual brain problem, Whereas now we know better, we know that we can affect all of those things positively when we first deal with the gut, because all of our gut, all of our health comes from our gut. And there's more pathways and connections and junctions going from our gut to our brain than from our brain down to our gut. And that is the axis, the highway, if you will, of how the messages go and how the nutrients are flowing and all of that kind of stuff. So all that to say is that, a lot of people know that they probably should, if they're having some gut issues, or even if they're not, more people are really understanding that the gut is really our second brain. And it's something that we really do need to address, and we need to make sure it's healthy. And so a lot of people are just going out and buying a probiotic. I should take a probiotic. It sounds good. I've heard about it. Oh, some people are even saying I should take a prebiotic too. Maybe I should put both together. Or they're, amping up their fermented foods or starting fermented foods. Yeah, you should have kombucha, or you should have kimchi, or all of these kinds of things, because those prebiotics are good for you. Yes and no. All of these things can be good for us if we know the right ones to use. So now I'm just going to touch on prebiotics first. So prebiotics are good if you don't already have a dysbiosis going on in there. Because if you do, the prebiotics can actually feed the bad bacteria instead of the good. All right. So if you've got some gut issues going on in there and you're thinking, well, I'm eating all this great fermented foods, but nothing's happening and I'm still getting all this digestive issues and upsets, that could be why. So you need to back off on that, dive into how I can remove all the inflammatory foods from my diet, clean that up a lot, balance my PFCs, right? Get your 6 plates spinning. So for those who are not familiar with the 6 plates, let me just bring that up here really quickly. We'll just touch on this because I have it right here. So our 6 plates right here: nutrition, exercise, sleep, water, stress, and supplements. And if any one of these are off, or they start to wobble, we say, right? If you're not sitting nice and balanced and spinning greatly on that stick, if they start to wobble, if you think of it in real time as a juggler at the circus, if he's got those plates up in real time and one gets wobbly and he doesn't move over to correct that and to help it stabilize again, it's going to fall down and it's going to take some of these other plates with it, right? So we need to keep that spinning. And as we're thinking about that to do with our gut, when any of these are not spinning, it does have a direct effect on your gut. We would think for sure that food would, right? We would think that. But how about all these other ones? We sometimes don't compute that. It's like, well, why would my sleep have anything to do with my gut? Well, here we go. Nutrition, obviously, right? What we're putting in, we need to put in more of the good stuff, more of whole foods, more of clean, nutrient-dense foods than packaged. That's just a given. Pretty much everybody knows that. If you don't know that by now, you've probably been living under a rock, but that's what we need. Exercise to keep our body moving, to keep our body strong, to keep the blood flowing and pumping. It also helps with our digestion. That movement, daily movement, helps with your digestion. Okay, just getting a little bit real here. That's why it's called a bowel movement, right? Things are moving. If you're very sedentary, that's not going to help with your body's elimination. Trust me on that. Get up and start moving. You'll notice. Okay. Think about your pet, right? They eat something, you take them out for a walk, and then they poop. Yeah, we talk about poop here sometimes. That's just the way it goes. So thinking about that, right? That daily movement, that does affect your digestion, how quickly the elimination is going to happen, how effective it's going to happen, that has a bearing on it. And if we don't, eliminate, then we create inflammation, that comes back, and it's not very good on our gut either. Sleep. All right. So sleep affects our digestive as well, because if we're not sleeping properly, our body won't metabolize as well the good foods that we are putting in. So that doesn't mean that we should stop putting good foods in. It does still matter, right? Because otherwise you're putting in inflammatory foods. It does still matter, but it's just they're going to not metabolize them as well as if we are getting good quality sleep. So all of those things, again, water, all of our systems function in water. Elimination, organs, systems, brain function, all of it, including our digestion. We need the water to help it out. Stress. right? Stress. Do you ever get sometimes that feeling in the pit of your stomach? Ugh, when you're stressed. Yeah, well, that's the inflammation welling up, and it's creating a whole bunch of nasty stuff going on in there. Inflammation fuels the bad bacteria, and it's suppressing the good. So it's actually causing some damage in there. And then your supplements filling in the gaps with the right stuff. And that's what we're talking about today with the probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, and all of that. But like I was saying, a lot of times, and even doctors do this, they'll just say, yeah, just go get a probiotic, go to the drugstore, go to your grocery store, get a probiotic. It'll be fine. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. Okay. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just not fine because the one that you chose or the one that they told you to go pick up isn't for the condition that you're trying to solve. So knowing that the gut affects our general overall health and our digestion and our elimination and our immune function and our brain function and our moods and our energy level and our sleep and all of that, which one are you trying to target? Maybe it's more than one. So for example, I follow Dr. Sean Talbot. If any of you don't follow Dr. Sean Talbot, I highly recommend that you do. Go look him up on YouTube. He's got some great videos. And so I was just listening to one. I was preparing for this, and I was listening to one of his little talks. And he was saying, and he was, giving examples of some different supplements that he had. And he was just saying that there are certain bacteria out there that that are good for. Say some are good for, and I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. And I'm not going to give you the scientific names of things because it's just they're huge, they have numbers. But the point is that there are certain probiotics out there, and he was specifically talking probiotics. So we'll just go with that for a second. So there are probiotics for different things. Different strains are focused on different things. So you might have a strain that helps with diarrhea and constipation, but you're looking for something that helps with your mood, but you grab the wrong one, and now you have an elimination problem or something because that's not what you were targeting. So there are certain bacteria that are certain strains of bacteria that are great for tension, irritability, overall mood. And there are some there's strains for weight loss. There's some for digestion and elimination. And there's, it goes on and on, all of those conditions. There's certain ones, different ones. And then, but what happens if you have more than one area you're trying to target? And you're saying, well, hey, I want to feel better. I don't want to be irritable and grumpy anymore, but I also want to lose a little bit of weight. Can I mix those two? Yes, you can. When you know which ones are synergistically able to go together, yes, you can. And then you can achieve that. So you're having the right ones targeting your specific needs. Okay. And then what happens if you're targeting, I need some help with some digestion and some elimination and bloating and gas and all of that kind of stuff. I need that. Plus I'm having a bit of brain fog. And I'd like to try and address that too. I'm having trouble focusing and concentrating at work. I'd like to try and address that too. Okay, well, then you're going to need a different one, two or three different ones to address those issues as well. So I hope that's making sense. If that's resonating with you, with anybody, I want you to just, drop a little raised hand in the chat below that you're like, oh my gosh, I did not know this. And if you have been taking probiotics or prebiotics for any length of time thinking, oh, this is going to work, this is great, I'm on it, but you're not getting the results, you're not seeing the results that you want, drop a comment in the chat because I'd love to connect with you and we can maybe go over some of the findings, my little findings that I wrote down here, and see which ones you're taking and why maybe they're not working for you, and which ones you can then look for, which strains you can look for, and to see how you can better target the issues that you're trying to target. Because really, it should be a laser focused approach. Think of a sniper. All right. The sniper approach is always better. So think way back to we're very lucky here in North America that we haven't had big world wars fought on our soil. But think back to world wars and things like that. There were bombs dropped on cities, and it was a kind of a target. They're targeting the general area, but there was collateral damage everywhere, right? That you drop a bomb somewhere, sure, you might have hit the target, or you might have been close to it, but there's a whole lot of collateral damage around it because there's shrapnel everywhere and things are blowing up. Whereas if you the opposite of that is like you have a sniper, and they're looking and they're watching the invaders coming, and then they shoot one of those little rockets, and they pick off that one tank, or they take out that one bridge. It's messy a little bit, but it's got the one thing that they wanted and didn't really damage anything around it. So the sniper approach is what we want to do. We don't just want to douse something into our guts and hope it works. Dump it in there and go, hey, there we go. Well, we're just gonna drop a bomb in there and see what happens. See how many probiotics strains we can put in there and see what works. You might get some great results, but you're probably not going to get the targeted approach that you want. So now that you know this, why not ask? If you're at your health food store and you're buying probiotics or prebiotics or digestive enzymes, right? Ask what that strain is for. So if you were told that brand X is the one was highly recommended, okay, we'll go and see what it says that it's for and what the strain is, and ask the person there. Say, okay, I see that it has several different strains in here, or maybe it only has 3, or maybe it just has 2, or maybe, take a look and say, what are those strains for specifically? There should be numbers at the ends of them as well too, because if we just say, oh, lactobacillus with no designation at the end, there's a couple different ones. There's a couple different strains. There's probably several. And so you want to make sure that you're getting the one that you're targeting for the issue that you're looking to target, and not something else. Because if that something else isn't actually bothering you at the moment, you are going to wrongfully think, oh, probiotics don't work. This is just a bunch of craziness. It doesn't work. I'm just wasting my money. You would be wasting your money. That would be a true statement. But saying that they don't work would be incorrect, because you are targeting the wrong one. It's kind of like, here we go back to, I always liken our body to our vehicle that drives us through life. This is our vehicle, drives us through life, car in the driveway, drives you around town. It would kind of be the same as if your car needed a new part, say it needed a new fuel filter or something, and you're looking it up, you just type in fuel filter, you type in the year of your car, maybe it's, it's a car, not a truck, you type it in and you go, oh yeah, that fuel filter will work. Well, maybe you might get lucky and it might work, it might fit, but it may not, because you didn't say what the make, the model, and the and the type of the vehicle is, so that you can get the right one to fit properly. So then you have to take it back and all of that. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. There's my puppy. Someone was at the door bringing mail. The things about working from home, right? So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted you to think about today. Are you, the supplements that you're taking, we do need to fill our nutritional gaps, right? There's that 6th plate. We want to keep that supplement plate spinning, but is it going to be spinning well if you're using the wrong one? Especially when it comes to your gut, and we want to create the best health we can inside of here. So is it going to be spinning well, or is it just going to be kind of up there wobbling? We want to make sure it's spinning well, it's highly balanced, it's precision right on. Just like ordering that proper part for your car, you want to give all the information, tick all the boxes, so that when it comes, you have the exact right part to put in. It's going to fit perfectly and do the job optimally. You don't have to jimmy rig it or monkey wrench it or whatever to make it kind of fit just so you can get by. That's not what we want for our health. We don't want to monkey wrench it and just kind of get by. We want something that is targeted. It's a targeted approach, fits well. We're optimizing everything that we know how to do so that we get optimal results. Because when you get those optimal results in your gut, with your gut, for your health, you will notice a massive difference in all the other areas of your life, because all of our health comes from here, from that gut. So I hope that was helpful for you today. And so just remember, just a little recap, if you are using prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, ask the person you're buying them from, what are these for? The ones in my bottle, take a look at the label, the ones in my bottle, what are they for? Because I want to make sure I'm targeting the right one. If they can't tell you, if they have no idea and they don't know where to look and it doesn't say on the bottle, you're probably not going to want to waste your money until you can figure that out, right? And so, drop a comment, reach out if you need help with that. I'm happy to help you because we want everybody to have that optimal health, right? I've got a few suggestions I can put out for you. There'll be some great opportunities for that in Canada here. In the United States, there's a lot more options, but in Canada, we're getting a few more options coming up this summer. So watch for that. But in the meantime, whatever you're doing, make sure that you're targeting, using the targeting approach, not just trying to nuke and bomb everything and hope something sticks, or, order the part and Jimmy rig it and see what happens. Nope. Get the targeted approach, get all the information, get the specifics, make sure you get the one that's right for you so that you can get the results that you need. So thanks for watching here today on Fit Nutrition Podcast, you guys. I really appreciate it. Throw your comments down below. I love to read them. And we'll see you back here next week. Same time, same station, new topic on Fit Nutrition Podcast.